Get cool stuff for what you were going to do anyway. Drink beer. With Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, you can just snap a photo of your receipt and upload it to the website to rack up points for exclusive merch. Get points for every purchase, whether you're grabbing a pint on draft, a case for a party, or a tall boy at the stadium. Any size, any product, anywhere you buy Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Sign up now at rewards.labattusa.com.
Good to wait for 2026, so drive into the holidays with confidence in a brand new Honda from a dealership Central New York trusts most. It's quick, easy, and hassle-free at Great Lakes Honda City. Visit us in Liverpool or at GreatLakesHondaCity.com.
This is the Burdick Ford and Burdick Toyota pregame show.
Pre-game show here in downtown Syracuse. Giovanni Heater with you, getting you ready for tip-off inside the Dome, the non-conference finale for Syracuse men's basketball as the Stonehill Skyhawks visit the JMA on a beautiful Monday night, teeing us up for Christmas, teeing us up for a week of holidays before this SU basketball team has some time off and gears up for ACC play. That'll be the opener on New Year's Eve, December 31st, inside the Dome against the Clemson Tigers. A win over Northeastern on Saturday for Syracuse. They're trying to make it 3 consecutive now with Stonehill in the Dome. Should. And I say should because it's not necessarily been done in convincing fashion as of late, but Syracuse should take care of business, go into ACC play with an emphatic W in the books, with a little bit of an exclamation point in the books, and wrap up non-conference play at 9-4. That's what Syracuse will look to do today. They come into this evening at 8-4 on the season. The 4 losses, you've had some highest of highs, some lowest of lows. A tough one where you took the number 3 team in the country in Houston to the brink, suffered a loss in overtime, missed 17 free throws, but at the same time turned around and lost to a quad 3 opponent in Hofstra at home inside the JMA. So it's been a little bit of a roller coaster of a non-con. It all comes to a close tonight, though, with Stonehill in the Dome, and Syracuse will look to send us to the holiday week feeling happy. Phone lines will be open throughout the entirety of the pregame show as well as the postgame show immediately following the action. You can find it right here on QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse. And you can ring us in. 315-437-7644 is that number if you want to chime in, get in on the action, get in on that conversation. That is the number to call. 315-437-7644 for ESPN 44. Syracuse basketball pregame if you're just joining us on the radio airwaves as well. So glad to have you, getting you set and ready for Syracuse and Stonehill inside the JMA. It is the non-conference finale for Syracuse men's basketball. Giovanni Heater with you for the next hour. And I'll have you covered post-game as well right here on QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse. You know, we've talked about it quite a bit, almost ad nauseum at this point, whether it's on Orange Nation with Stephen Pauly, if it's Drive Time with Tim Leonard, if it's these pre- and post-game shows with myself. We've talked about it, but Syracuse has to win in convincing fashion. And it's been something that they've been pretty unable to do in the last couple of weeks, this back half of the non-conference portion of the schedule, right? Early on, they were cruising past the opposition as they should, holding teams to around 50 points per game. Syracuse had one of the best and at times the best scoring defense in the country. They go out to Vegas, play some really decent basketball at times, a head-scratching half against Iowa State, left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. But you played good if you're Syracuse at times out in Las Vegas, particularly when you took Houston to overtime, missing 17 free throws in a game that you felt like, man, you should have won it. And then you come back home, beat a top 25 Tennessee team, resurrect the season because it was a backs against the wall, gotta prove it type of moment if you want to go to the tournament and keep that hope alive for the season if you're Syracuse basketball. And for whatever reason, after the court storming, after the celebration, after the highest of highs, after the high point of the non-conference portion of the schedule to that point, The team went on a 9-day break, a 9-day layoff, and never came back the same. They haven't come back the same since. After that, it was a slim win against St. Joe's. Everyone said, okay, they might be a little under the weather, a little bit of a flu bug going around, starting with the point guard, Nathan George, fine. But then the next game, after the St. Joseph's win, you turn around and lose to Hofstra by a point, 70-69. Beat Mercyhurst, but didn't do it in convincing fashion by any stretch of the imagination. And then allow your largest point total of the season to a Northeastern team that was scoring in the 250s nationally. You had to scroll to the fourth page on the NCAA statistics website to find where Northeastern ranked in the country in their scoring offense, and Syracuse allowed 83 points against Northeastern on Saturday in an 8-point win, 91-83, the final score. And you look at what Northeastern had done all year to that point. They hadn't scored 83 points all season. That was the first time they scored that many points besides one other time when they played Duquesne. They scored 93 in a win against Duquesne. Other than that, they hadn't scratched the 83 mark, and they did it against Syracuse inside the dome. And that it's puzzling because this was a team that was holding teams to around 50 points to get the season going, and it wasn't a super small sample size. You're talking about 3-4 games before they head out to Las Vegas. And all of a sudden, they just never came back the same after storming the court, after beating Tennessee. They haven't looked the same. But I do have faith. I do have faith that the team can get back to where they were hoping to be. I do have faith that the team can have a little bit of a return to form and start playing well here once they roll into ACC play. I think Donnie Freeman coming back for ACC play will certainly be a big part of that. I do think that Donnie Freeman will help this team to look a lot better, to look a lot more like they did to open up the season. Unfortunately, they'll be without Donnie Freeman tonight. No Donnie. He's expected to return for the Clemson game on December 31st, New Year's Eve. We had talked about it on these pregame shows. I was really hoping to have him for maybe Northeastern, possibly Stonehill, but at least one, maybe two of those games to close out non-con to try and get the cohesion back a little bit, get the chemistry rolling, even get him comfortable again. Not going to happen. And they're expected to have him back against Clemson on the 31st, which that's better than not having him. That's for sure. I mean, it would have been icing on the cake. It would have been the cherry on top to have him for a game or two before just to get things rolling a little bit. But no Donnie tonight. I do think this team can roll into the ACC schedule, though, with an exclamation point type of win tonight. If they can bring the energy, if the scoring can be there, and if the defensive effort can be there, because it's not even necessarily a lack of ability on the defensive side. There's times where it was a lack of defensive effort, if you will, right? Not getting back in time, allowing 21 fast break points, kind of lazy getting back on defense last game against Northeastern, and that resulted in allowing 83 points to a 4-6 Northeastern Huskies team. Orange and Stonehill going at it in the Dome tonight. Phone lines are open. Let's go to those phone lines. We got Nick in Las Vegas on the line. Our friend Nick, who typically is always talking football, but Nick's coming on, and I'm hoping you're talking basketball, Nick. What do you got for us?
I am, Gio. How are you, my friend?
I'm well, man. Always good to hear from you. Always brings a smile to my face when I look at the screen and it says Nick in Vegas.
Likewise, my bud. Hey, listen, first thing I want to talk about is this whole net thing, right?
Okay.
Listen, here's my thoughts on the net. The net will be controlled by wins. If Syracuse has 22, 23, 24 wins at the end of the season, the net's not going to come into play. When the net comes into play is when they don't win the games they're supposed to win in conference. That's when the net comes into play. If they take care of business like they're supposed to, it never becomes an issue.
Yeah.
It's an overrated stat that people focus on too early in the season. Under Coach Boeheim, do you know how many games they had where they won by 6, 8, 10 points that they should have won by 15, 20 points?
Yeah, and that's a really good point, Nick, because I was even, like, in this opening segment, we've been doing this segment that we have a sponsor for where we do a look back, right? Today in Syracuse history, and we go back, and As I'm scrolling through and looking at these old box scores and just trying to find, an interesting game that happened in the non-con to talk about and whatnot, we're looking at these Syracuse teams ranked, 3rd in the country, 8th in the country, 11th in the country, number 1 in the country, number 2, whatever it is, because they lived in the top 25 and the top 15 so often back in the day, right? And they're barely getting by, right? Like a 6-point win against Morgan State, like a 4-point win against Temple. Like these non-conference slim wins, these are top 25 SU teams that wound up, being ranked and making the tournament with ease come Selection Sunday. So I think there's a lot of validity to your point and saying that about those old Boeheim teams.
And the other thing, too, is everybody says, well, yeah, the teams that we beat had their best player out. What people aren't saying is those best players aren't 5-star recruits, top 10 recruits in the country. There's a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Like Kansas's guy being out, and we lost that game. Kansas's guy being out, Iowa State's guy being out. Those were elite guys. I mean, the guy for Kansas is supposed to be like the number 1 pick. But yeah, when you're playing a Northeastern or a Mercyhurst or whoever, Hofstra, and they're without their best guy, yeah, I hear you.
The guy from Iowa State doesn't have the pedigree or the ranking that Donnie has, right? The kid from Kansas, I'll give it to him. Yes, okay.
Right.
But most of the games, I mean, you don't find top 10 recruits in the country, 5-star recruits that are out, right?
Right.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, what do you think's going to happen when Donnie comes back into the fold? Some people are out here thinking that there's going to be this massive improvement and they're going to look a lot more like the team we were hoping they'd be. And other people are incredibly skeptical and don't see that being the case. I think it's somewhere in the middle where both can be true. I don't think he necessarily saves the day, but I think they're going to be much improved. He's their best player, and he's a McDonald's All-American.
I think you have to be naive to think you're going to come in and it's going to just change with the flip of the switch, right?
Right.
He's going to have to he's going to have to progress and get his feel back and get back into the swing of things. It's going to be a progression. But will he make an impact? Of course he will. I mean, you can't replace someone who can go in and do 20 and 10 on any given night. You know what I'm saying? You can't replace that.
Yeah, and he's a physical force to be reckoned with. Like when he's healthy, I do think he's an NBA talent, which a lot of scouts and mock drafts and everything would agree with. That's a guy that does change your team and change everybody's dynamic on the floor.
The one thing that people aren't giving enough credit for is he's a fantastic defender.
Yeah. Great defense. And you see it. The numbers don't lie, Nick. Syracuse, in the 3 games with him to open up the season, early on, that's when they were allowing only like 50 points a game, right? In the games that he played in, they had the number 1 scoring defense in the country. All of a sudden, he doesn't play. The Vegas games are a little bit of outliers because, sure, they're playing much more talented teams. But then you come home and St. Joseph's, Hofstra, Mercyhurst, Northeastern, those might as well be the same competition as Binghamton, Delaware State, Drexel, and Monmouth. And Syracuse is allowing so many more points. And the defense doesn't look even close to the same. So I do think, even more so than on the offensive side, Donnie's going to make that much more of a difference on the defensive side of the ball. And rebounding. He's going to help there, too.
And I just think the one thing that people also forget a lot of, back in the day it was a race to 20 wins. If you had 20 wins, you were in the tournament, right?
Right.
Well, those days are gone. Now we need to have 22 plus to be off the bubble, right? So if Syracuse can win the games they're supposed to win in the ACC, pick up a couple of games they're not expected to win, if they get to 22 plus, then that does not come into play, and Donnie's going to be a big reason why that happens. So anyway, Gio, I just want to tell you that. Wish you a Merry Christmas, and go Orange.
Nick, you're the man. I appreciate you ringing in, as always, my friend. Merry Christmas to you and the fam, and we'll hear from you after the holiday when we talk some more hoops, getting ready for that ACC opener. Oh, your mic dropped us. That's all right. We appreciate Nick. He's the man. Thanks as always for ringing in, Nick. No, yeah, I think he's spot on. And to kind of further his point with what he mentioned there and the magic number being 22 wins or more now rather than 21's kind of being the line of demarcation, I think that has a lot to do with the ACC and the conference you play in, and less to do with the national landscape of college basketball and more to do with your league. The ACC, and you could say the same about the Big East when Syracuse was in the Big East, elite, top tier, two of the best conferences in the sport, if not the best two, right? Especially early days in the ACC when Syracuse first got into the league. It was pretty untouched. The ACC was kind of running college basketball. Don't get me wrong, the Big 12, SEC, everybody had teams, but the ACC was probably the premier basketball conference at that point when Syracuse got in, which was a big, let's get real, it was a football move to join the ACC. It was a football move, but I'm sure it was enticing from a basketball standpoint with it being the premier conference in the sport. Those days are done. Now the ACC is probably the worst power conference basketball league. Just plain and simple. And it's shown by the amount of teams that get into the NCAA tournament. It's shown in how the ACC fares in the non-conference portion of the schedule when playing other power conference teams. Don't get me wrong, it's better than the Big East right now, but it's not in the same stratosphere year after year as the SEC, Big 12, and even Big 10 have been the last 5 years or so. It's just, we've seen quite a switch in how these leagues stack up against each other, and the ACC has not fared very well. I think that they are trending in the right direction. I think as a league, this is a better year than last. Last year was kind of a low point, right? A bottom of the barrel, rock bottom moment for the Atlantic Coast Conference. Back in the day, 20 wins in the ACC was plenty. We saw 2 years ago in Red's first year, the Orange got 20 wins for the first time in, at that point, 4 years, right? And there were Boeheim teams that didn't get to 20 wins. And, pardon me, it was 20 wins for the first time since the first year in the league. It was 20 wins since the first time that the ACC and Syracuse were won, right? And Syracuse went on that run, 25-0 to start. The Tyler Ennis team went to the tournament. It really sputtered at the end, right? Got knocked out in the quarterfinal of the ACC tournament, the first game that that Syracuse played in the ACC tournament, then lost in the round of 32 in the NCAA tournament. A great start to the season, sputtered at the end. But that was the last time Syracuse had a 20-win season. They did it again Red's first year, and they didn't even sniff the tournament. They weren't even on the bubble. And that's because the league was down. They got to 20 wins, didn't even come close to the tournament. In other years, that's just not the case. You had Boeheim teams that went 18, 19 games, even 17 games, and made the NCAA tournament, went to the Final Four, went to the Sweet 16. It's just, that's a result of the league being where the league is at right now. We're getting you set and ready for Syracuse and Stonehill. It is the non-conference finale inside the Dome. Giovanni Heater with you all the way up till tip-off at 7 o'clock. You're listening to Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse. What's up, chat? How we doing, chat? What's up, Jen? All right, Paulie, what you got for us? Why did you not agree? I agree. Where are you from, Super Cat? They blew it. They blew it. Oh, really?
But I do want to say this.
What?
The women's volleyball team won the championship.
National champs.
See?
National champs.
I saw that and I said,
Yeah.
that's a good thing to everything.
I wish they were still playing and they were playing Ohio State, but that's how it goes, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
You know, what are you going to do? It's just, things just didn't go their way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it happens. I mean, but, Ole Miss won.
Ole Miss did win.
And
We'll see if they can keep it going.
And Oregon won.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we'll see.
It was an entertaining weekend.
Yes, it
For
was.
sure.
So are you
For
here
sure.
tomorrow?
No, I won't be here the rest of the week. Yeah. We got basketball pregame right now, and then, and then nothing the rest of the week.
I can't tie my shoe guy.
Oh, Paul? Yeah.
That's what I call him. We're calling him.
Yeah.
All right. I will see you, Merry
All right. Merry Christmas.
And I will see you before New Year's.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right. Have a good holiday. Thank you. I appreciate it. Welcome home, Super Cat. Heck yeah.
Broadcasting live from downtown Syracuse. We are live. We are
Ayo,
local.
man.
We are
Would've won it all in
Galaxy
09,
Media
no
Partners.
question about it.
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. This is the Burdick Ford and Burdick Toyota pregame show.
Rocking and rolling on a Monday night in studio here downtown Syracuse. Giovanni Heater with you, getting you set and ready for Syracuse and Stonehill. It's the non-conference finale up in the JMA for Syracuse men's basketball. After this, they'll have some time off. They'll get to relax, enjoy the holiday a little bit, and then gear up, turn things up a notch, hopefully, for ACC play. The conference opener is inside the Dome on December 31st, New Year's Eve. No better way to spend it than up in the JMA, rooting on Syracuse as they take on Brad Brownell's Clemson Tigers on December 31st. We're looking forward to that one. We can't wait to get you set and ready for that one after the holiday. But first, a must-take-care-of-business type of a night for Syracuse men's basketball to close out the non-conference portion of the schedule. The Stonehill Skyhawks come into town, and this is actually the team that is ranked lowest in the net that Syracuse will play in the non-conference portion of the schedule this year. It's a must-take-care-of-business type of night, and it's one of those that Syracuse, again, against St. Joe's, a little closer than comfort, a loss to Hofstra, closer than comfort against Mercyhurst in Northeastern. You really just can't have it if you're Syracuse tonight. You want to roll into conference play feeling good about how this team is playing, but more so than that, it's the metrics nowadays, and it's the net rankings, and it's how all of this factors into the algorithm that is your resume come Selection Sunday. And Syracuse's close wins to these inferior opponents could come back to bite them. You really have to win these games nowadays by as many as possible because of that margin of victory part of the recipe. And so Syracuse really trying to put their foot on the gas tonight and take care of business against Stonehill. It is time, though, however, for Today in SU History. It is brought to you by none other than Ferrone & Son Funeral Home. Celebrate your loved one with the help from Ferrone & Son Funeral Home, or plan ahead for your pre-arrangement today. Visit them at 1500 Park Street in Syracuse or at FerroneandSonInc.com. GameDay.com. Today in Syracuse history, I am going to take you back to 2008. December 22nd, 2008. How about Andy Rautins? A 29-point performance leads Syracuse to an 82-71 win in the Dome against Coppin State. Couple of things here. It really solidifies Nick's point when he said, back in the Boeheim days, back in some of the best days of Syracuse basketball, when this was a team that was a mainstay in the top 25, typically in the top 15, when this was a team making runs in the tournament, when this was a team that never, ever had to sweat Selection Sunday. Some of these non-conference games were closer than comfort. Sometimes Syracuse seemed to play with its food a little bit. 82-71, the final score on December 22nd, 2008. Andy Rautins had 29 points in the affair. Syracuse was ranked 17th in the country at the time. This was a team that was very comfortably in the top 25, playing a Coppin State team that they should have dominated. And they didn't necessarily dominate, but it was a record-breaking night for Andy Rautins. He nailed 9 3-pointers. 9 3-pointers in the ball game for Andy Rautins. That tied Jerry McNamara's single-game record for 3-pointers in a game. McNamara set that record at the 2004 NCAA tournament game against BYU. Junior Paul Harris was second on the team in scoring, had 15 points, 9 rebounds that night. Arinze Onuaku added 12 points, 10 rebounds as well, a little bit of a double-double for AO. And it was his third double-double of the season to that point, 13th of his career. Johnny Flynn and Rick Jackson each had 10 points a pop as well. Well, Johnny Flynn had a double-double. He had 10 points, 10 assists. How about that? You had 5 scorers in double figures, and the names, there's some lore there. Andy Rautins, Paul Harris, Arinze Onuaku, Johnny Flynn, and Rick Jackson. Take me back. Take me back. Those were the days. Those were the days. We miss it. We miss it. We're hoping to get back there sooner rather than later. If you want to chime in, I'll beg this question to everybody because it's spraying around in the chat. That is a topic of conversation. And a night like this, when they're not playing a big-time opponent and we're not doing this super in-depth breakdown of the opposition and everything like that, I'll beg this question. Call in with your answer. And feel free to spray it in the chat as well. Everyone's already talking about it. What was your favorite Syracuse basketball team? And I'll say this, to make it a little bit more difficult, you can't say the 2003 team. That's everybody's favorite. National champs, Mello, GMAC, freshman. I mean, you go down the list. Hack, Josh Pace, Craig Forth, Matt Gorman. Awesome team, right? Queth Duaney. We love that team. You can't say 03. It's too easy to sit here and say 03. So call in 315-437-7644 is the number to call. Call in and tell us who is your favorite Syracuse basketball team outside of the 2003 national championship team. Chime in the chat as well. Can't wait to hear what everyone has to say about that. That should be a fun little conversation, non-conference finale type of talk here on QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse. We got Pat in Syracuse on the line. I don't know if Pat just heard that one teed up, but even if he didn't, I'm sure he's got plenty of good stuff to say. It's always full of information, whether it's positive or negative, and there's been a lot of negative lately, and I don't blame Pat for it. Let's hear what he has. Pat, what you got for us tonight, man?
I was super positive last call. I mean,
sarcastically positive, yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, I missed what you had said that you didn't know if I heard it or not. What was that?
So I was just teeing everybody up. I thought it was everyone in the chat was kind of bantering about it, and I thought it would be a fun exercise. Last game of the non-con, we're not doing a super in-depth breakdown of the opposition because they're ranked in the 300s in the net, and it's kind of a who cares type of a thing, right? Wanted to hear what is your favorite outside of the 03 team, because it's easy to say 03, of course. What is your favorite Syracuse basketball team you remember watching? Which year was your favorite outside of 03?
Wes Johnson.
All right.
That Wes Johnson team. I mean, I remember they played I think it was like Maine early in the year, and it was like, I think they won by 60. But it was just you could just tell it was almost like that game. I just knew that team was on a whole nother level, and that team, and then obviously the Fab Mello team. Those are probably your two top teams. I was really most disappointed about the Tyler Ennis team. Went to that Dayton game, watched Ennis take that stupid jump shot when he had a clear path to the baskets, and that was not a fun ride home from Buffalo. You talked about people having fun in the chat. You might want to check your crowd over there. I haven't been over there in a long time, but last I knew that you're probably thinking about 10% of the chat even knows how to have fun. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm trying to turn over a new leaf, so maybe I'll have to tip my toe in the water and figure out what my login is for the Twitch chats. Not exactly sure. I don't think I miss it. I think I'm actually a little bit more less polarizing not being in the chat, so maybe we'll just keep it status quo for that. But no, my take on this season is real simple. You allocated your NIL the way you did, and there's some talk that they overpaid for Nate George to get him from Carolina, and all these types of decisions you have to make your bet, and now you lie in it. So if Nate George produces, then it was money well spent. Eddie Lampkin, last year the narrative was we didn't have enough NIL. Well, we had enough NIL to overpay for Eddie Lampkin,
right.
And we had enough NIL to offer Richmond what we didn't end up spending. So it doesn't really always, the narrative that Boeheim and some of the people with orange-colored glasses always try to have an excuse. The reality is things are not being managed well from the top all the way down, and there's no other way to spin it. There's no other way to spin it.
Well, we'll see how it all shapes out. I'm with you. I'm really curious to see what happens when, and I'm somewhere in the middle. Yeah. It's not a save the day. It's not going to fix everything, but I do think they'll be a little bit better, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. I want to see what it looks like when they get into ACC play and have Donnie Freeman back. For whatever reason, and I think it's a coaching thing, I really do, they're playing up and down to the level of competition. I mean, that's evident. They hung around with one of the top teams in the country that just played for a national championship last year in Houston and took them to overtime. They beat Tennessee, and then they're playing around and losing to Hofstra. So they're so up and down.
How do you like the narrative that, I don't know if I agree with it or not, but I've definitely heard it, and I've heard worse, that, at halftime, coaches make adjustments. And the fact that we're losing all these second halves to all these hot garbage teams, to me, shows that the coaching is not measuring up. I mean,
I agree.
I'm not saying that's a foolproof thing, but it makes a little bit more sense than some of the stupidity that I do here. I'll just say this. I thought, based on the offseason acquisitions, that we were going to be in a position to be where we need to be for him to keep his job. And nobody can say at this point that that's the case. We're way behind the eight ball. There is enough opportunities to make it right. But if I have faith that this team's going to do it, I'm not so sure. I've never seen a team with 6, 7, 8 guys that you've seen them play like they should be a starter, and then in the same week, you don't even want them on the floor. I mean, you can go right up and down the lineup. For a while, Kings was doing that. And some of it is they haven't played together, so we will see. The potential is there, which is really even more frustrating, because when the potential's not there, you just say they thinking we got to get better. I mean, this is why it's on red. People can't just lean on Freeman. So we'll see. I'd like to win by 20 plus tonight, and maybe have somebody who's been struggling. I would like to see White. I think Sadiq really showed me early on that he was an all-conference freshman type player in, an all-ACC freshman team. And the last, 2-3 weeks, he really hasn't looked that far. I think he's starting to remind me more of Terrence Roberts as a sophomore, junior, where he's got the athleticism, but he's just going way too fast. And some of that is coaching, and some of that is grown into his body. So we will see. Gio, are you on the post game?
I'll be on the post game, yeah, for sure.
What's the line tonight? I hadn't looked.
Let me pull it up for you. The betting line, you're saying?
Yeah.
Let's see. What is
Which is, by the way, based 85% on Ken Palm and 15% on the market.
Right.
But people want to trash Ken Palm, by the way.
23.5 right now.
All right. So if they don't win by 17 or more, this was an epic failure. How about that?
If you had to make me pick, I'd say they don't cover.
Right.
There's nothing that shows me, for whatever reason, they're like a different team after that 9-day layoff, and they haven't covered a game since. So I don't see why they would cover tonight.
I'm actually not going to the Dome tonight, but I do have somebody going that is literally going to count all the people because it might only take a minute to count everybody in the stands.
Yeah, unfortunately, it probably will not be a very attended game tonight. I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah. All right, Gio. Be good, man.
All right, we appreciate you. Take care, Pat.
Thanks.
All right, that is our guy, Pat, as always, chiming in. We'll take a break right here, getting you set and ready for Stonehill and Syracuse non-conference finale up in the JMA Dome at the top of the hour. You're listening to QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse.
This is Orange.
Lots of callers in the pregame, as always. I appreciate you guys. Jen, you got people down there? You got people everywhere. CNS, A&M. Let's see. Malachi Richardson was a guy that improved over the season. Yeah, Malachi Richardson definitely did that. I mean, the way he ended the year got him drafted. He probably wasn't a guy going to the draft until he tore it up in the NCAA tournament. You could argue he shouldn't have left. Didn't play much in the NBA, but where you reside from, Gaper? Thank you, Jen. Appreciate it. To answer that question, Paul, since that's a good question to prop. That's a really good question. I would have to ask you, what does it look like? Like, do they get into the tournament as a 6 seed and they get upset by an 11 and you're like, yeah, well, they were a 6 seed. So that would show you that they had a pretty good year. It really depends on what they got into the tournament at. If they got into the tournament as a 11 seed and had to play in the play-in and everything, and then, maybe that's a little bit different. So I think it really depends on how you got into the tournament. It's a good question, though, Paul. We're just kidding. No, you might do. Appreciate you, Super Cat. I know. It was quick, but I mean, I'm from here. I'll be around. Tim and I were joking. Tim was joking. He's like, we're going to have to get you on to call in and talk some lacrosse just to scratch that itch, because I love Syracuse lacrosse, and that was one thing I will be sad to miss, especially because the year they're going to have. I was so hyped. I drove from Blacksburg up to Boston, Foxborough, to go to the Final Four game. I really wanted to watch because I had never been to the lacrosse Final Four, always wanted to go. Then by the time I got a little bit older and would have been able to do that, they never went. They hadn't gone since 2013. So they beat Princeton the day I graduated college. We had like a party to watch the game, and then went out. My parents were there, and everyone's parents and stuff came to my place, and we watched that awesome Princeton game. And then we went and I was like, that day I was like, if they win, I'm going up to Foxborough, and got in the car from Blacksburg the next weekend, went up. It was awesome. It was unfortunately they went up 1-0 against Maryland, and then you blinked and they were down 8-1, and I was like, man, this game was over before it started. But
This is the Burdick Ford and Burdick Toyota pregame show.
Giovanni Heater with you on QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse as we take you all the way up to tip-off. Top of the hour inside the JMA Dome. It's the non-conference finale for Syracuse men's basketball. Stonehill in town, a quad 4 opponent for Syracuse, and the Orange look to end the non-con with an exclamation point. It's time, though, to give you a little bit of a breakdown, a scouting report on the opposition, the Stonehill Skyhawks. Built by IKEA. Everything you need from IKEA is now at Destiny USA. Go check it out and dream the possibilities at your new IKEA Syracuse. Stonehill comes in. This is a team that is 3-9 on the season. They were picked to finish third in the NEC, one spot ahead of Mercyhurst, who Syracuse already played last week. LIU was the unanimous pick to win the NEC this year. Central Connecticut State picked to finish second. Stonehill right there at third. Stonehill this year, though, off to a rough 3-9 start. They are ranked 336 in the net ranking. That's up 4 spots from their previous 340 before their last game. They've played one quad 1 opponent. It was a 96-57 loss to Iowa State. So a common opponent between Syracuse and Stonehill. A similar margin of defeat, unfortunately, against Iowa State. They lost their one quad 2 game against Rhode Island, 80-57, the final score there. Rhode Island ranked 102 in the net. Quad 3, they are 0-3. A loss on the road at DePaul, a loss on the road at Fairfield, and a loss on the road at Quinnipiac. And then they are 1-5 against Quad 4 opponents. Loyola, Maryland, a loss. UMass Lowell, a loss. Bryant, a loss. And New Hampshire, a loss. Their one win against the Division I team, because their other 2 wins came against Division II opponents. Their one win against a Division I team was a home game, 74-70 against Lafayette. That is their one win against the D1 basketball team this year. Syracuse, it's a quad 2 opportunity for Stonehill because Syracuse ranked 92nd in the net. That is a top 100 road game, so that is what they get with Syracuse coming to town, coming to play in the JMA. Looking at the personnel a little bit here for Stonehill, this is a team that averages as a crew not a lot of scoring. That's definitely not the team's strength at this point. They're averaging as a team below 70 points per game, 69.7 on the dot. Herman Kofi's the big guy to look out for in the backcourt. Averages 34 minutes a game, leads the team in scoring with 15.3 points per game, shoots at 43% from the floor, 42% from beyond the arc. He wears number 10, so look out for him, the 6'4 guard out of Quebec City from Canada. A guy that they're going to be without, that they're going to be missing big time. He hasn't played since November, played the first 3 games of the season before sustaining an injury. That's William Bachatelder, and this is a guy that for them was averaging 10.3 points per game, the only other scorer in double figures for Stonehill before going out with the injury. They'll be without him tonight. Raymond Espinal Guzman, he's played 12 games. He averages 29 minutes a game. He's averaging 9.9 points per game and 7.6 rebounds. Certainly their biggest presence scoring-wise in the painted area. So look out for him. Wears number 13 for Stonehill. And then lastly to note, 9.9 points a game out of Devontae Hackett in 25.8 minutes of contest, 4.6 rebounds. He can get after it defensively as well. Going to be a guy to look out for at the guard spot for him. He wears the number 4. So between Hackett and Kofi, that's where you'll find the majority of their scoring. From the backcourt, Espinal Guzman's going to be the go-to guy in the painted area. Chaz Stinson averages 8.3 points a game, 8.2 points a game out of Ridvan Tuchik as well. So handful of guys personnel-wise to be on the lookout for against Stonehill. Syracuse 23.5-point favorites. Syracuse has not covered in each of the last 4 games after the 9-day layoff against Tennessee. So we'll see if Syracuse can find a way to do that tonight. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap things up, getting you set and ready for the season, or the regular, or what should I say, non-conference finale. That is the best word for it. Non-conference finale in the Dome. It's Stonehill and Syracuse, top of the hour on QSports.com and ESPN Syracuse.
This is Orange Nation.
I think everything will be okay. I'm not making...
Going too fast for my own tongue there. Goodness. Everyone's just saying hello to each other. I don't think we're going to lose tonight, Q Sports Talk, Noah, or Q Sports Noah. I think we're going to be all right. Yeah, I don't blame you for b-ball being your favorite. You know what's crazy? Football's always, well, lacrosse is my favorite. That's my ride or die. I low-key always liked football a little bit more than basketball, and the only reason was because we had season tickets to football. And so there's 30-something basketball games and there's 12 football games. So every game just feels more important, if that makes sense. I don't even know Tronic. Bachelder, maybe? Bachelder? I guess I should look it up and see. Oh, I'm not even seeing. Oh, appreciate it. Appreciate the compliment on the hat. That is a Cuse hat right there. Cuse. Elijah Robinson. Yes, I am. I am going with Elijah Robinson to Texas A&M. It's so funny. It's a very weird triangle. And I guess I have a second to explain it. So the defensive line coach at Texas A&M is leaving to go to Virginia Tech, which is where I graduated from college. And he's going to Texas A&M because he has a deep connection with James Franklin and Brent Pry, and that's just like his guys. And so he's going back to reunite with his guys to be the D-line coach at Virginia Tech. And he's had really good defensive lines at Texas A&M, like elite. Like Cassius Howell is going to be not a lottery pick's not a thing in the NFL draft, but you get what I'm saying. And so he's leaving to go to Tech to be with his guys. And then E-Rob, after getting demoted back to D-line coach at Syracuse and no longer the defensive coordinator, is going back to Texas A&M to be the D-line coach at A&M. And it's just this weird triangle between my three schools, my home school, the school I went to, and my new job, as the defensive line coaches are just rotating between Virginia Tech, Texas A&M, and Syracuse. So it's just very weird how that happened literally all today and yesterday. But I was getting lots of texts from people that follow that stuff closely and like, how's that? What are the odds of that? It's just pretty bizarre. I don't know Elijah Robinson. I would actually love to, I should like DM him or something. I would love to reach out. I mean, I'm sure I'll interview him or something along the way.
It's on the web at ESPNSyracuse.com. ESPN Radio 97.7, 100.1, 1200 AM and 1440 AM. This is the Burdick Ford and Burdick Toyota pregame show.
Wrapping up our pregame coverage right here on QSportsTalk.com at ESPN Syracuse. Giovanni Heater with you, getting you ready for Syracuse and Stonehill. It's the non-conference finale up in the JMA Wireless Dome between the Skyhawks and the Orange. Got about 9 minutes until tip-off in the JMA between Stonehill and Syracuse. Plenty to get to, though, in the next 9 minutes or so. And it's time for our Krause Hospital injury report. Say, take me to Krause. Not a ton to update you on other than the fact of what we already knew. Donnie Freeman not going to go tonight for Syracuse. He's missed now the last 8 games with a lower body injury. This will be the 9th game that Donnie Freeman is out for, and hopefully the last. It has been reported that he is expected to return for the ACC opener on New Year's Eve, December 31st, against the Clemson Tigers inside the Dome. So hoping to have Donnie Freeman back. He's dressed and warmed up for each of the last 2 games, did not play in the game, was likely never going to play. Like they said before, he's probably going to dress and warm up, probably not going to go, unlikely to go, did not play, and is going to be out once again tonight. He's not featured in the starting lineup, and he, again, was expected last game to return for the ACC opener on December 31st against Clemson. So that is your Krause Hospital injury report. No Donnie Freeman for the Orange tonight for the 9th consecutive game. And it's time for our Keys to the Game, brought to you by Drivers Village. Find them at dvtrucks.com. The segment powered by Drivers Village. Keys to the game. Biggest key to the game if you're Syracuse. No dips tonight. No dips tonight. That has been a word Red Autry has used a ton in the postgame pressers. Dips. That has been when this team doesn't play with that level 5 energy that he talks about throughout the entire game. And I think if you're Syracuse, you really got to bring it. No dips on the defensive side tonight. Syracuse allowed its most points of the season. Last game against Northeastern in the Dome allowed 83 points against a Huskies team that does not score the ball very effectively, ranked in the 200s in scoring offense. Allowed them to score over 10 points more than their average on the year. Just can't have it. It didn't have the edge defensively against Northeastern. So I think that's the biggest key to the game tonight. Come out with a serious, relentless edge on defense and really clamp things down. Stonehill should not score a lot of points on Syracuse tonight. Get back to that physical, aggressive brand of defensive basketball that was really the calling card of this team early on in this season, including that trip to Vegas. Like, I understand you could point to Donnie and say, hey, well, they don't have Donnie, and he's the big fix on defense, right? But they had a very, very physical edge against Houston, a very physical edge against Kansas, an incredibly physical edge on defense against Tennessee. Even in the first half against Iowa State, like there were times without Donnie that was still their brand, their calling card. Got to get back to that tonight. That is the biggest key to the game for Syracuse, trying to cover a 23.5-point spread, if not do better, against Stonehill inside the JMA Dome tonight. Time for our Upstate Imports starting lineups. Who's going to go for Syracuse and Stonehill? Well, for the Orange, it's business as usual. It's the guys that you have expected to see out there for Syracuse. It'll be Nate George running the point guard position for Syracuse. It'll be J.J. Starling playing the 2. Playing the 3, it'll be Nate Kings, as it has been all along. Of course, playing the 4 for Syracuse, it'll be Sadiq White in place of the injured Donnie Freeman, who's missed the last 9 with a lower body injury, and William Kyle, the big man, will round things out and play the 5 for Syracuse. He is the leading scorer in the starting lineup, averaging 11.1 points per game, 8.2 rebounds as well. I have been coined saying I think he's their best player. William Kyle gets the start at the 5. One more time through for the Orange. It's Kings at the 3, it's George at the 1, Starling the 2, White at the 4, and William Kyle the 5. On the other side for Stonehill, quickly through it, Rex Sunderland will play the point, Devontae Hackett the 2, Herman Kofi will play the 3, Ridvan Tucic will play the 4, and then Raymond Espinal Guzman will play the 5 for him. Herman Kofi, the leading scorer for Stonehill, averaging 15.3 points per game. Be on the lookout for him. He wears the jersey number 10 for the Skyhawks. All right, our final segment here. It's Bringing the Meat, brought to you by none other than Hoffman Sausage Company. Hoffman Sausage Company has called Syracuse home since 1879. They have more than just hot dogs like German Franks and Snappies. They have amazing sausages to take you through the cold winter months. Jalapeno cheddar, Italian, beer bratwurst, so much more. Hoffman is the spot. What player is going to step up? Who's going to bring the meat tonight? I like what Pat said. Earlier when he called in. Want to see it out of Sadiq. Let's call out Sadiq White to bring the meat tonight. Really enforce his will a little bit. It's his last chance to be in the starting rotation before Donnie returns and in all likelihood is back in the starting lineup. So let's see what the freshman's got tonight. Calling out Sadiq White to have some big moments and get in on the scoring party, rebound the basketball well, take care of the basketball well, and play the proper pace, right? Sometimes it feels like he's too athletic for his own good. Let's see what Sadiq White has tonight. It's Bringing the Meat, brought to you by Hoffman Sausage Company. Final prediction time between Syracuse and Stonehill. The Orange 23.5 point favorites in this one. I want to see that defense step up. I don't think Stonehill is going to be very effective scoring the ball. At the same time, though, Syracuse shouldn't have let Northeastern score 83. So I think there's a marriage in the middle. I just don't see Syracuse covering the 23.5. It's such a big spread, and they have not gotten even close to covering since that Tennessee game and that 9-day layoff. So I don't think I have Syracuse covering in this one. I'll have Syracuse winning the ball game 92-71. That's what I'll say. 92-71. Syracuse comes out on top, but doesn't cover. They don't get the 23.5. They win the game by 21 points. 92-71 is my final score prediction. Syracuse beats Stonehill tonight inside the JMA. Enjoy the game. If you're up there, enjoy it. If you're watching at home, stay cozy. We'll have you covered post-game right here on CuseSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse. We'll have the phone lines open. You can always call in at 315-437-7644. I'll talk to you after the game immediately following the action in the Dome between the Skyhawks and the Orange. For now, though, turn that radio dial over to TK99 with Matt Park and Jim Saddle, and they'll have the call. We'll talk to you post-game. Thanks for hanging out with us on CuseSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse.
Did you miss try?